Welcome to Inside the Chamber. I'm Nicki Anderson, the President and CEO of the Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce. If you're an interior designer, an architect, or in marketing, your success is dependent on your creativity and imagination. But what if you're an accountant, a computer programmer? What role does creativity play in your workplace? Today we're going to find out.
Inside the Chamber is brought to you by presenting sponsor, Naperville Bank and Trust.
So thank you everybody for being here today. I love this topic about creativity. I'd like to think I'm a creative person, non-traditional creative person, but I want to learn more from you. So tell me a little bit about creativity and what comes to mind when I reached out to you and said, hey, we're doing a topic on creativity. What did you think?
I mean, for me, I think creativity is just thinking outside of the box, right? So it's very simple to have really templated solutions or services for a problem or a certain circumstance, but creativity is thinking outside of that and making something really custom to that specific problem or position that a client is in.
Okay, great.
You know, it's a tough question because it's one of those things I think about at night, like what is creativity? Is everybody creative? And it's just different. And it's really that simple. It's just something that's different.
But do you think when you say that, like, because I completely agree, creativity comes out differently in different people and depending on the situation, right? So yeah, I agree. It really is dependent on the situation and the person and what they're doing. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we all have different perspectives. We all have a different kind of point of view and come from a different place. And I think those that are able to express their creativity are willing to open up and use that as a means to an end. Use that to either get your point across, get your perspective across, or in my line of work in sales, to try to convince a customer or a partner that what I'm doing is the right approach.
Right. So I think about when I was in school, it was just a little while ago, and creativity was never part of it. And I'm going to bring up art. I was never good at art. I'm not a natural drawer, right? But that was creativity. Fast forward, I think now things are different in schools. I recently worked with 204 and we were talking about the traits that are so vital for kids, and creativity happened to be one of them. So how do you think our educational system does with creativity? Do you think they pinpoint it, kind of to your point, Arthur, you know, just because you're not good at art doesn't mean you're not creative. But do you think that our educational system does a good job at promoting creativity, whether your personal experience or if you have kids or...
I think the answer to that is it depends. So my wife and I were talking. And I asked her, you know, do you think either of our kids are creatives? And our daughter's really artistic, but I don't know as if artistic means that you're creative, right? So the answer to your question from an educational perspective, our kids both went to a college preparatory school in the western suburbs, and you know, I think old school college prep type schools don't do as good a job at promoting creativity as they do college readiness. I think those employers that look for people that come out of school, whether it be high school or college, that have a creative angle, have a competitive advantage over those that don't. So anytime we can have schools that are promoting more creative thinking, I think it's better for our employers in the long term. And I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a creative. I think I'm learning to be more creative to be effective in my job. But at the same time, my wife and I met in a high school play. And I like to think that was the foundation for maybe a lot of the things that I ended up doing in life.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I don't think the schools I'm a creative. I don't think they're doing a good enough job to embrace creativity. I think we're getting there. You know, Naperville has the incubator program for high schools. Because the business world, what I'm hearing from business leaders, they want creative problem solvers. They just want problem solvers. And creativity is a big advantage in that. And the schools are teaching that, but on the younger level, it's like art's still art. Right. It's music still music, and it's not. I don't think it's fully embraced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think speaking more to the traditional sense of creativity, art, music, theater, you know, looking back to high school and middle school and even college, those courses are classified as electives. You know, you have to take science, you have to take history, you have to take math, but you can take art classes if you want to. And I think for a lot of kids, that sets them up to think that they won't be as successful in their adult or professional life if that's the path that they choose, because it's kind of something that's off on the side and maybe you're good at it, maybe you're not.
Right, interesting. The other thing that I think of with creativity is like a non-traditional thinker. You know, like you can solve this problem, but what's a unique way of solving this problem that maybe someone else hasn't thought about? Which kind of leads me to the next question is, when we think of people getting hired for a job, you brought up a great point, Kevin, and that is, you know, those critical thinkers are so valuable. Those ones that don't, or those creative thinkers that don't answer a question the same way every other interview did. Do you think now, especially in your role, do you look for that non-traditional thinker?
Absolutely. So we talk a lot at Microsoft about diversity and inclusion, and it's not just gender and race, it's thinking, right? It's perspectives and thinking. And so when we go through an interview process, we very much look for creative problem solvers, and we'll pose questions that will make people just think about something they haven't ever really experienced before and how they would approach it. And the how is very much an important part of how we, frankly, evaluate people. And so when we look in the interview process, it's not just the what somebody's accomplished, it's how they've accomplished it that's really important.
Yeah, but the challenge I have is with these large organizations, to get a job, you go through the resume process, which is all analytical and it's data driven, and it defeats the whole purpose of creativity. And I know some people that have struggled with the larger organizations with that because they had a program where they found out that the attributes of Thomas Edison and Ben Franklin would never get hired because they didn't fit the profiles of what they're looking for because they're so analytical. And I like the interview process. I know Microsoft has some really great, there's a couple of books I've read on all the interview questions, but to get to that point is, I think, a big bottleneck.
You're absolutely right. There's certain qualifications for jobs that will, frankly, just never go away, right? If you're in a technical position, we'll want certain qualifications to get there. But I think we're doing a better job from a college hiring perspective, both on the MBA and undergrad, looking for a diverse set of majors and experiences to come into the organization, because we realize that that's how we're going to get better, that we're only going to be able to reflect our customers and our partners when our own organization has that same diversity of thinking.
Interesting. What about Youtech?
Yeah, I agree. It's a little different for us because we are a marketing agency, so many people that come to us have a creative background. But I know from my experience personally, having an art degree and then pairing that with the business degree that I'm working on now, that is definitely why I've been able to climb the ladder that I have to become the COO of the company. And I think that one thing we're really good at is combining that creative backbone with the technical applications of every department and finding ways to implement creativity into every department.
Yeah, so that kind of leads me to a thought, and that is, how do you guys do things, or is there a process to help bring out, because as you can tell, I'm not shy, right? If I have an idea, I voice it, right? But there are some people that probably have some amazing ideas that might not feel comfortable sharing. Are there ways that we can bring creativity out in people without saying, hey, can you give me a good idea? Or list 3 ideas that you have? Are there ways that maybe we can bring some of those creatives out that maybe we haven't even noticed that they had that ability? Because I loved your story when we talked and you said, I was an art major and here I am now in business and I'm the COO of this company.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes to me, right?
Yeah. And I think honestly, it just comes down to promoting thought generation within companies. I mean, one thing that we do very often is we have strategy meetings and we have internal kickoff meetings. So these are internal. We get everyone who's going to work on the project in one room and we just start spitballing ideas. And typically the first idea that comes out is not what we end up using as the end solution, but it starts the conversation. And when one person says this and no one else has thought of that, then we're like, okay, wait, what if we did that and this? And it not only empowers people to do their job and do it well, but it shows them that they're valued in the company and that there's no stupid ideas. You know, that they can be creative and they can throw things out there that might sound wild and it might work.
Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna speak to TEDx a little bit because I know you have so many volunteers that come and help you. I bet there are people there that you see that kind of creative piece.
Yeah, I used to think not everybody's creative, and I still sometimes think that. But for my innovation agency, LabZ, I created a workshop, and I kind of beta tested it for a while because a friend of mine who's not creative, I found out there really was creative, but just not how I define creativity. That was my big insight.
Right.
And I do an exercise where I can get 10 people that are not creative. Within 5 minutes, they have, similar to what you did, they have like 10, 20 ideas. And they start laughing and high-fiving. I do this with our volunteers at TEDx Naperville. And a lot of it, I think it's just fear, because people, the challenge they have with what you're saying with brainstorming is a lot of corporate cultures, you put your hand up and have that one idea, it's the social part of the culture. They look at you like, ugh, don't do that. That's not the way we do things. And that to me is the big problem with creatives is the corporate culture. Because in the TEDx Naperville, of course, our culture is on the extreme opposite side. It's like, no, let's fail and fail often. The crazier the better. Who cares?
Right. Yeah, I love that. What is Microsoft doing?
Well, this has been a transformation for our company really for the last 4 or 5 years since Satya Nadella stepped in as our CEO. And I think he's really done a good job of changing culturally what's acceptable from really from a learning perspective. So it wasn't mandatory reading, but encouraged reading was a book by an author named Carol Dweck, who wrote a book called Mindset. And I would encourage you, if you have kids, that it's a great parenting book as well as corporate book, but it really just talks about how having a growth mindset, which I get is a buzzword, having a growth mindset means that you're open to learning. And when you foster an environment where everybody realizes that there really is no failure, there's just learning, then everybody wants to contribute. And Satya tells all of us that he wants a company of learn-it-alls, not know-it-alls. And so when you enter into a meeting where everybody's there to kind of gain from one another versus be the smartest person in the room, it does change the dynamics. So one of the things, this is really tactical, but one of the things that we really try to encourage now is, as the author of PowerPoint, is no more PowerPoints, if you can believe that, is when you stand up in front of a room with a 30-slide deck, nobody's going to want to interrupt. But when you have no slides whatsoever, to your point, and it's just conversational, the ideas just start to flow, and then you start to collaborate much better. And so we're working on that. I mean, I think you're never going to have an organization that is all learn-it-alls, and not everybody is going to have a growth mindset 100% of the time. But I think if you're consciously trying, that does eventually evolve.
And I like what you're saying, but I would take it one step further. It should be required. The book should be required reading. You should have. I think being creative is hard. I think a lot of people are not creative. They say they're not creative because of complacency, but you have to work at it. If you want to sing, you got to practice singing. If you want to do engineering, you got to learn. You have to learn to be creative, and that's through perspective, through reading, through artwork, through brainstorming. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but it's work. And I think a lot of people are creative, but they're like either don't know how to start, or they're like, I'd rather just watch Netflix.
And then there's that. I love the learn-it-all versus a know-it-all. And I think, it goes back to kind of what you all have touched on, and that's creating, this culture. Although I'm reading a book, The Originals, by the way, which is really good, and it does talk about, be careful of the word culture, because now that we've used it so much in the last 5-10 years, where culture can also mean that everybody thinks the same. We hire people that we like, because they're the same. Yeah. But he talks about, the value culture, the culture of values is important, but ideas and personality and all that should be as diverse as possible to bring as much to your organization, right?
Yes.
I think so. But anyway, we will be right back.
Naperville Bank and Trust has the expertise, knowledge, and experience to help you reach your business goals.
We would prefer to work with somebody like Naperville Bank and Trust. They're engaged in the community, they're able to help meet our financial needs, they understand us as a business.
They provide all the tools that you would ask that we as a growing business need of a bank. Most importantly, to me, it's a great personal relationship we have with Tom and John and our bankers.
It was the best thing we could have done in banking, and banking can be very cold. What the bank brings to us is that warm feeling when you come into the bank and people say, "Hi, Greg."
It's about being part of the community again, about being a name again, about having credit for who your business is instead of just being a number.
Naperville Bank and Trust. Bring it home.
There's no better time than now to be more informed about what's happening in your town. And that's where your community television station, NCTV 17, comes in. We offer a free and easy way to stay connected and informed. With Naperville Now, this 2-minute video features top news stories sent straight to your email once a day, Monday through Friday. And best of all, it's free.
The Fifth Avenue redevelopment plan still remains in Phase 1.
Always be in the know with daily news updates from Naperville Now. Sign up today.
And that's what's happening right here in Naperville.
Visit nctv17.com/subscribe.
So as we continue our conversation about creativity, I can't help but think when I have a staff meeting, and I'll tell my staff, let's think differently, let's think outside of the box. There has to be another term for that, right? Because that's been overused. I need to be creative and think about something else. But when you think about your team and the importance of creativity, how does that impact your organization? Knowing that you've got these different types of creatives, right? Because there's all different types. There's at one time. How do you think that impacts your organization?
Mine's simple. For TEDx Naperville, it makes or breaks the entire experience. Everybody has to be creative. It's expected. And I've had so much success again, it's a culture thing. I've got to keep beating that drum that over and over again, that we want your crazy ideas. We want to push things forward. And the more you do that, the more, like you said, ideation, the more ideas you get. And they're not all great ideas, but they lead to some really great, a lot of the best ideas we've had are never mine. And to me, that's a sense of pride. I'm like, yes, another idea that's not mine.
Yeah.
Because that's how you get energize your user base.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I think for us, honestly, we can attribute so much of our success to creativity. We have a saying that we like to use that we don't sell services, we sell solutions. And let's be honest, we're a marketing agency. We're not the only people in the world that build websites or mobile apps or do SEO and PPC, but it's all about the way that we approach it. And based on our conversation, we were saying the thought generation and all of that, we truly cater each and every project to that specific client. We don't have, these off-the-shelf services that we just pull and package together with a pretty bow on top. We truly creatively think about all of the circumstances, all of the constraints for every client and what the underlying problems are and how we can truly solve it for that client.
Right.
To your point about having mandatory reading and everybody reading the book, there's something to that. I think consistency is important in this, meaning you can't just walk into a meeting and say, okay, let's have all the ideas thrown on the table and then constantly always pick Arthur's idea, right? I mean, you have to have a consistency across everything you do, even though your idea is probably the best. Just no disrespect there. But you have to be consistent in everything that you do across the org. We started to see a little bit of a change when we started evaluating our people differently, to be honest with you. We, for the longest time, did stack ranking of people based on metrics and performance.
Yeah.
And when we changed it to not just the what, which was kind of the objectives, but also we looked at we think about it in 3 concentric circles, but the other 2 are very much how. It's how are we contributing to the success of others through what we share of ideas, and how are we contributing to our own success by taking ideas from others to go faster. So if we're both giving and taking in a very creative and collaborative way, then I think it breeds a little bit more creativity because we're trying to help one another and we're literally evaluating people in that way. And only then, when we're consistent with our evaluation, did we start to see a lot more collaboration and creativity of folks.
Interesting. So when I look back on business, I go, is this discussion something new? Is creativity now the new word that we're talking about when we're looking at hiring or, the type of talent we want to acquire? Can you think about, not to put you on the spot, but a business in the past that was creative, and obviously, Apple, right? They were thinking light years ahead of what other companies were. I think something, like Blockbuster, right? I think, didn't Netflix offer to buy them? Mm-hmm. And they, right? And so, I might be mistaken, but I think that was the case. And so this creative, right? This person thinking 10, 20 years ahead. Can you think of other businesses that do that? And
well, I think disruptors in general do that, right? Like an Uber, for example, completely disrupted that industry. And so when they're looking at how do I solve a problem with a very different or creative way of doing it, I think you're seeing those companies leapfrog most others.
Yeah. And you know this because I read the same book that you told me to read, which is great. Creativity doesn't mean revenue. And there is a difference. And Dean Kamen from the Segway, extremely creative guy, genius, great product. I was in line to get one of the high deposit for the first one. Luckily, I backed off. Epic failure. So it's just something that you have to kind of differentiate the creativity between running a business and revenue. It's a careful dance for an organization. You have to have both.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. I always thought when I saw the Segway, I go, what is that going to do to the health of our country? Because everybody's going to be using those. Nobody's going to be walking.
Well, there you go. Absolutely.
So that was my big push. What about your organization at Youtech? I can't help but think, the young people, they have the creativity, right? And that's sort of why I said, I love to look back and go, who are those disruptors, right? Because they've been around forever, right? But now we're really starting to recognize the impact and the importance, and that creativity isn't always obvious, to your point. You kind of have to bring it out in people, I think. And to me, so let's talk a little bit about, you were talking about reviews, right? I even hate to use that term. That's kind of antiquated in itself, right? But what do you guys do about sitting down with your team and going one-on-one? Let's talk about your role here. How has that changed, do you see?
So we do evaluations in a very, relaxed environment where not only would I as a supervisor be reviewing an employee, but they're also reviewing me at the same time. And what we're reviewing on, it's a combination of actual data. If you're an SEO specialist, we can actually look at the numbers and tell that you've made improvements on the accounts that you have or not. But it's also about things like collaboration and how you work with a team. And do you speak up in, meetings? Do you communicate with your director when you see flaws or you see areas for opportunity? So it's not necessarily things that you can put a grade to. It's more so a conversation about where we see them going and what we want to see come out of them. And then, of course, also, how they're actually performing from an analytics standpoint in their job.
Sure. What about Microsoft?
Well, I mentioned kind of the how piece,
you
right?
Did.
So
you did.
I'll touch on something else, I guess, then, which is just how we approach meetings. I've got a manager offsite of our team coming up, and the entire day of agenda is best practice oriented. So no matter what topic it is, we're picking speakers who are thinking differently, thinking creatively. We literally have a topic on creative deal making. It's best practice sharing one after another, depending upon our lines of business and what we're trying to accomplish for this half of the fiscal year. But it's not it's not a PowerPoint slide. It's a day of collaboration and speaking and sharing that I think will make us go faster. So we're constantly looking for ways to do that. We're not perfect at it by any stretch, but I think the more we try and the more we practice that, the better we'll end up getting.
Yeah, the bank on that, because I don't do my review process for the TEDx site is it's out there. But I've had a lot of, you said about the consistency on creativity, and I've worked with some clients under LabZ where we took CTO engineers, extremely engineering, when they talk, it's pure boredom. And a lot of people, if you consistently say, you're creative, but don't worry, they might think creative like out here. No. You can be creative within this canvas, and with the how and big on the why, that a lot of success where people can actually work within that area and be creative.
We've got so that's interesting. I actually have a team, a subset team. It's a pilot, and 14 of the 19 employees on that organization or team are new to Microsoft in the last 2 months. And one of the pursuits that this particular seller has, let's see, my boss's boss is really interested in what we're doing and asked, hey, how can I get involved and how can I be part of it? And he's really good at fostering this sense of collaboration and creative thinking. And so we paired them together. So if you can imagine this, you've been at Microsoft for all of 2 months. You're really, I guess, early in your career, and your boss's boss wants to lean in, like, and get involved in this. It's a nerve-wracking thing. But in the preparation for the customer call, this executive said, okay, you're king for the day. What are you doing differently? Like, how are you going to be able to go faster? What can I do to enable you? What should we be doing and thinking differently? You've been here a couple months. You probably know by now things that we don't even know. And I think it's important that we're constantly, whether it's your Canvas analogy or a situation like that, that as leaders, we're allowing for that space versus telling what to do.
Yeah. And to your point about Youtech, I mean, we are a very young company. I'm like one of the older employees, which breaks my heart. But you know, a lot of people that come and work for Youtech, they're fresh out of college, and I think a lot of companies see that as a bad thing. They want someone that has 3 to 5 years industry experience or has worked at an agency before. Personally, I like people that come to us fresh out of college and they've never seen an agency operate before. They have no ideas in their head of how things are supposed to go or how it's supposed to work. And those are the people that end up giving us the best and most creative ideas because, they have no prior constraints in their mind of what they can do.
And it's so interesting you say that, because even in my role in the chamber, I mean, I had never worked for a chamber before. I ran a business for 25 years, right? So my thinking was very different. So I made sure that when I hired people that they had not worked for a chamber previously, because I didn't want them to have that chamber think, right? I wanted them to have, you know, a whole different perspective, which brought some of the greatest ideas that we have, right? And so I love that.
It's funny, from a leadership role, I think we're all hit on the right. I'm glad you guys all think the same way, because it's really that consistency in allowing the employees to be creative. And until I'm blue in the face with new members on the team, your ideas are more powerful than mine, because I've got blinders on. As creative as I think I am, I have to know that I'm not that creative within my little realm. And one time I told the new employees that we're 99.99% sure we're going to do it this way, but challenge us. And this one girl did, and she was scared. She didn't want to approach me because I was 99.99% sure. She whispered to one of my team members, and we went her direction, changed everything. Wow. And now I use that as a story for new people coming in of how powerful it is of, like you said, just reaching out to the new person. They have the ideas.
That's awesome. So, Kevin, tell me how creativity has helped you in your role. Or I don't know if you have a specific example, but can you tell me how your creativity?
So, well, I'm trying to be more creative, so I don't bill myself as a creative, I guess you could say. But, you know, one of the things that I try to pride myself on in terms of the organizations that I lead is that I want to have a virtual line of people out the door that want to come onto this team, because they see it as a place that they can learn and grow and get better and advance their career. So if I'm importing talent and exporting talent, then we have a successful org. So one of the things that I've been trying over the course of the last year is I do a video every Friday that I kind of give a recap of the week to my team, and I post a link to that video on LinkedIn and in my email. But I interview somebody on the team every week. I travel quite a bit, so no matter where I am, I'm grabbing somebody either out of a cube. They just got off the phone with a customer and say, "How'd that go?" Now we sanitize it so I can put it publicly. But sometimes it's a corporate vice president, sometimes it's somebody brand new to role. But I'm getting everybody involved, and I'm interviewing them, much like we're doing right here, on selfie video. My daughter had to teach me how to use iMovie to edit all this stuff. But and we do it every week. And what it's ended up doing from a recruiting perspective and a networking perspective and partner recruiting has been really wonderful. And I'm not sure that's something that I would have done in the past, but I'm trying to constantly innovate and be different and creative with how we approach not only my internal team, but my partners and customers.
The power of creativity. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us for Inside the Chamber. We hope you found the information in today's program valuable. Please join us again for our monthly programs, and in the meantime, remember, when you're looking to shop or dine or looking for a service, think Chamber and visit naperville.net to support the Chamber of Commerce and our business community.
Inside the Chamber is brought to you by presenting sponsor, Naperville Bank and Trust.